What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Plaid Couch Podcast. Today I'm joined by,
Matty Ice.
and I'm Jaylene. Tegan is not here today, which means we can do whatever the fuck we want. Isn't that right, Matthew?
Got that right. No ball and chain to hold us down.
Yeah, so we can't get yelled at for going off the rails or talking shit about that guy.
No tyrant breathing over our shoulder.
Gosh, isn't it a breath of fresh air? In all honesty, thank you, thank you, Tegan, for everything you do. We are not going to talk shit about you too much, maybe just a little bit.
No.
So
He does a
today,
lot. He does a lot for the channel.
he does. It would be nothing without Tegan. So today I thought, since it's just you and I was trying to think of something that like we have in common that we don't necessarily share with the other members of Plaid Couch, and I think that one thing is astrology. I think astrology and like tarot kind of go hand in hand with us. It's something that we're both kind of into. So we've got some fun astrology stuff planned today. But before we get into that, I think it'd be fun to just talk about like why we're interested in astrology and sort of, I guess, what we use it for, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't say that like we're people who, it's not like we judge people just because of like what their sign is or things like that, or you
No.
know. So I guess what got you into astrology and what keeps it fresh and interesting for you, Matthew?
Uh, Astrology is pretty cool to me because I don't know. I like explanation for things, and having astrology kind of be in the real world, like stars. You see the stars every night, and you've got planets in space, and the 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 fact behind astrology is, these kinds of things affect people's mood and how the world, reacts. It's a very pseudoscience, but you can't help but think that it might be true.
Right. All right. I'm a little bit in the same boat. I don't really necessarily. I'm gonna get roasted for this, I'm sure. I don't really necessarily believe in astrology. I I mean, I'm not completely dismissing it because obviously like I own astrology books and it's something that I do like sort of have an interest in. It's just one of those things where it's like I just think it's fun. It's fun to like look up horoscopes and like sign compatibility is fun to like discuss with your friends and be like, "Oh, actually we would be shit friends, so fuck you." um Things like that.
Yeah.
If I like died and somebody told me it's like, well, astrology is real, like that's the real science, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like I don't have an issue with people like believing it and running with it. I don't see it any different than like anything else that somebody can believe in and really study and things like that. Just for me, I
Right.
like it for entertainment purposes, and I'm kind of with you. It's nice to be able to like put things in a certain category. Really just I don't know, it's a fun little explanation for things. And like we'll get into with this list. Matthew and I are gonna sort of give a brief, very brief like description for each sign. And then we both listed two people, whether it's celebrities, historical figures, people we know in real life that um, we like, that we admire, that have that star sign. But you and I were talking before we started recording that like some of the people who made my list, I didn't realize had anything in common until I started thinking about it. And I'm like, well, that
Yeah.
is kind of weird. I would have never put them in the same boat. So that's what
Hmm.
I like about astrology. And it's times like that where it's like, I don't know, like it is a little too, it is just a little too, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
A
You
little too spot on.
Yes, that's what I was trying to get out. It's like, well, it's,
Yeah.
you kind of there's no other explanation for it really. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to keep an open mind with astrology. I'm the same way with tarot, which maybe another day along the line we'll have like a tarot episode. That might be fun.
Ooh, spooky.
I know Tegan likes to do tarot reads with us sometimes too, so that might be a fun one for the three of us together. But without further ado, that's like sort of the reason why Maddie and I are into astrology. Let's just dive right in. So I have a Google Doc open here that I'll be referencing. I got all my research from this book called "What's Your Fucking Sign" by Amelia Wood. If you're just vaguely into astrology, this is a fun book because it doesn't take it too seriously and it is funny. If you don't like swearing, she swears up and down in this book, so sorry. But it's fun. It has very simple. I wouldn't say simple, but it's not. It doesn't make you feel dumb while reading this book. And some astrology books like really just make me feel stupid. This one doesn't do that. So I have a brief definition, and I might read like little passages out of this book if we really want to go more in depth. So
Awesome.
shout out Amelia, and if you want to check out her book, I bought this one at a Barnes and Noble, I believe. Not sponsored. I don't know who she is. I just really like her book. So first one we have Aries. So if your birthday is between March 21st and April 19th, you are an Aries. Um, the symbol for Aries is the ram. They are a fire sign. They're ruled by Mars. They can be passionate, fearless, independent, impulsive, selfish, and stubborn. So these are just like really fiery people, very independent. Um, they see a challenge, they run right into it, don't really hold back. Um, with a lot of these signs, you're going to see that there's some very obvious downsides to that, where being too impulsive sometimes really gets you into trouble. Um, I think a lot of these people can be categorized as like smartasses. They kind of just, you know, but hey, sometimes you gotta be.
I'm
Um,
glad you included the dates because I did not.
I came prepared, okay? Um, one of the things like in this book says is, they are always getting amazing shit done. They're adventurous, they're go-getters. They can't sit still, have no patience. Um, they're very fearless. They're usually barreling headfirst into challenges, things that are very unknown to them. Yeah, definitely a very powerful, very fiery sign. So I guess we should get into who we picked, people that we admire with this sign. Maddie, do you want to take the first one?
Yeah. Are we going over both people or
Let's like tag team. So you say one, then I'll say one, and then you say your second one, and I'll say my second one.
gotcha? Okay. So for my Aries list, I've got Emma Watson.
Oh, okay.
Emma Watson, she plays Hermione in the Harry Potter movies. So I grew up kind of enjoying her as an actress, and I didn't know she was an Aries, but now that I look back on the way she portrayed Hermione, I could definitely see it.
Oh, you just
Um,
flipped yourself.
she's also
There you go.
she's also in like in person because she's a spokeswoman for a lot of she stands up for a lot of things.
Okay.
So that really goes hand in hand with the Aries sign.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know she was an Aries, and I know that like I mean, I don't know a lot about Harry Potter, and I'm sure like the character isn't necessarily an Aries, but like Hermione feels very like she fits in with these traits. So that is kind of
Yeah.
cool. Behind that, I don't know a whole lot about Emma Watson, so I'm gonna have to take your word for it. But from what you described, I think she fits in good here. So for my number one pick for Aries, same thing. I guess I didn't really realize this until I started doing my research. My grandma is an Aries, and yeah, my grandma I think is pretty fiery. She's pretty fearless, independent. Um, my grandma's not like most grandmas. She definitely is in her own category, and I mean that in the best fucking way. She is awesome, and yeah,
I can second that.
she doesn't like she doesn't take any shit from anybody, and she's never been the grandma to like cook you a grand meal or anything like that. I mean, my grandma called me a bitch one time when I was beating her in phase 10. That's the kind of grandma I have. So I was very proud when I found out that she was an Aries. It was the first person I added to my list, obviously, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a good episode because I'm starting on a really strong one here." So shout out to my grandma. I'm pretty sure she's going to watch this, and yeah,
Yeah,
I
shout out
just
to Jalen's grandma. She's
yeah,
great. She's wonderful.
she is definitely an Aries for sure. All right, Maddie, your next Aries.
So my next one
Oh boy.
is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is an Aries.
My God.
And you know what? Just looking at the motherfucker, I can already tell. So I just love the man to bits. His Welsh accent is wonderful. And all the movies he's been in, love him. He has not made a bad movie.
I have not seen any movies with Matt Ryan. If so, I don't recall. So I am definitely gonna have to take your word on this one. The only thing I know about Matt Ryan is just from what you've told me. So you know what? I'll just
Yeah.
I will just agree with you just to make things easy. Um, but shout out Matt Ryan. If you want to hear more about Matt Ryan, watch our Hear Me Out video because I think Maddie's got a little crush on Matt Ryan.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. That's fine. All right, Matthew, I feel like you're gonna definitely agree with my next one on this list. So my second Aries is Robert Downey Jr.
Hell yeah.
I feel like that's as Aries as they come. And sort of the same
Oh my
thing.
god.
I'm
Definitely.
trying not to do like fictional characters with this, but like Tony Stark is also an Aries, like just by definition. Um,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that Robert Downey Jr. is actually an Aries. Um, and I just everything that this book says about Aries is just Robert Downey Jr. coded. It really just is him, and there's a reason that he plays Tony Stark. It's because he is this very um, impulsive. I don't know about fearless. I definitely think it's more like making people more like being perceived as fearless. But I think that could be said about most people with that trait. Um,
Yeah.
but like Robert Downey, he's a different breed. He's definitely an Aries. He fits that definition to a T.
Yeah. Well, his story's pretty cool too. Like the way he kind of
Yeah.
became an actor.
Well,
Good for him.
and then like there was that whole thing about because Marvel really got shit for casting him as Iron Man originally because he had a lot of stuff in his past that wasn't very good,
Oh yeah.
and they really gambled on having him playing Iron Man. But like I can't picture anybody else playing Tony Stark. He's perfect for that role. Um,
Yeah.
like they really gambled the whole MCU on Robert Downey, and it paid off. Like it really did.
It really did.
I talk a lot of shit about the current day MCU, but like really, it did pay off. They made a shit ton of money just because they took a chance on Mr. Downey. So
My my two favorite movies with him in it is the Sherlock movies. Uh, I've watched those so many times, and that's kind of where I fell in love with Robert Downey Jr.
mhm.
So I I'm really glad we get to experience him in our time.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna bring up the Sherlock movies. I'm glad you did. All right, moving right along. Next we have Taurus. So the date range for that is April 20th to May 20th. They are the bull. They're an earth sign ruled by Venus. They can be loyal, supportive, romantic, materialistic, lazy, and inflexible. Um, some other things, they don't really like change. They're pretty stubborn at times, but they definitely have lots of patience. Um, this thing, there's a little part in here talking about how they're like your kind of go-to guys. They really have your back. Have a lot of self-control. They're charming. Um, And one thing that I thought was particularly interesting about Taurus is this little sentence here. You'll probably never beat them because Tauruses refuse to lose a fucking argument. And there's somebody on my list that fits that to a T. Um, so we'll get into that. But Matthew, who is your first Taurus on your list?
My first Taurus is Channing Tatum,
Oh, okay. Also, I'm going to
which
interrupt you for just a minute. Before we started recording, Matthew's like, I don't have a lot of celebrities, just mostly like historical figures. Your first three have been actors. Do you realize that?
yeah, we'll get there. There wasn't a
Okay.
lot of historical figures in the
I
first couple ones, but we'll
I
get
just
there.
found that interesting. All right. So what about Channing Tatum makes him a good Taurus? I would
So
love to
I
know.
was never really a big fan of Channing Tatum because all I knew him for was the Magic Mike movies.
Mhm.
Uh, I never really watched those, but my mom loves him to death for reasons obvious. But
Okay.
I kid you not, like Deadpool versus Wolverine, when Channing Tatum portrayed Gambler, I I don't know. I think he became an actor that I will definitely do more in my power to watch more often. Uh, and the Taurus makes perfect sense because I just feel like Channing Tatum really is just kind of laid back.
Yeah, pretty chill dude. I don't know a whole lot about Channing Tatum. I knew he was playing Gambit. I knew that he was in Magic Mike. He's in. Is he in like what is it? 21 Jump Street. He's in that movie too.
Yeah, he
I
is.
thought he did good in
He
that.
is.
Um, but I definitely get like it talks about being charming and romantic. I definitely get those vibes from Channing Tatum. Like that definitely seems to fit him. Uh,
Yep.
my first one for Taurus is Jacob Burgai, and that's why I brought up the like you'll never lose an argument to him because you like cannot lose an argument to Burgai, even if you're right.
Huh?
He won't like back down. Um, Burgai's very chill.
No, I won't
He
back
can
down.
he can be very lazy at times. Another thing is like these are your go-to guys. That really is Burgai. Um, Burgai is never gonna be like I don't want to say not the comforting type, but he's never gonna like sit and have like a heart to heart conversation with you. Like that's not something that he does on the regular. But he's someone that you
Yeah.
always know that's like you could call him for something and he'd help you out of a bind. Like you could always have him on speed dial. And yeah, I think for someone Burgai doesn't really like astrology, it's not his jam, but he really does fit into the Taurus narrative. So had to shout him out.
Jaylene, I'm glad you added our friends because I didn't know any of our friends except for Tegan's and yours.
Okay. I didn't add a lot of our friends, so to our friends that we didn't include, sorry.
Huh?
But I did add Burgai. All right, Matthew, who's your next one?
So this was a surprise to me. Dwayne the Rock Johnson is a Taurus,
He's listed in my book. Yeah.
and I just did not expect that. He seems to be because Taurus aren't very. It doesn't describe them as really outgoing, right?
I wouldn't say that it's like not really introverted. More of just um, like they definitely seem to have like those close connections, but I don't think it's like they. My understanding is they don't necessarily seek it out. It's like
Gotcha.
they definitely are close with people. They definitely like being with people. I just don't think we'll get to other signs that are very outgoing and very, you
Yeah,
know,
but
extroverted.
I get that outgoing vibe from The Rock,
Yeah.
and him being in wrestling too. I didn't know that for the longest time until I started watching some of the wrestling matches he was in. But I don't know. That really surprised me because he just seems. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that he. Eh, whatever. Anyway, The Rock Johnson, great fucking actor. Jungle Cruise, great movie with him in it. Probably one of my favorite ones. And you just can't beat that smile. That
Hmm.
that is probably the most Taurus thing about him. He's got a very charming smile.
I feel like he is very much a Taurus. I think, I think this is the same for a lot of celebrities and actors. I'm sure he like puts out like this perceived version of him where he does seem very outgoing and stuff, but like I follow The Rock on Instagram and he's always just like kicking it at home. He's always tired. Like he'll do like his cheat day Sundays where he's just on the couch with a like 2 dozen peanut butter cookies, like watching TV.
Are
And it's like I think
you
that's
serious?
oh yeah, it's like I think
That's awesome.
that's the true Dwayne Johnson right there. So it's like we definitely have this perceived version, but I think at the end of the day he's just a really chill like homebody kind of person. That's what I like to believe
Yeah.
anyway. So
Honestly, I think Channing Tatum and The Rock would be best friends.
I could see it. Put them in a movie together.
Oh,
Um,
please.
My last Taurus kind of surprised me because I wouldn't expect them to be a Taurus, but I think it does kind of make sense. I have Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Oh,
And at first I was like, I don't know, but again, like never losing an argument. Like if you beat Dale Earnhardt Sr. in a race, it's almost like worse than losing to him because he's just going to be an asshole about it because that's just the kind of guy he was. He was the intimidator for a reason. He very much like just that guy did not give a fuck. Um, and the more I thought about it, it's like I could kind of get it. Also, like supportives in there, he was very supportive to the people on his racing team. Um, and yeah, I think after mulling it over, I'm like, okay, that does make sense that he's a Taurus. I can see it. But R.I.P. Dale, miss him. All right, let's
good
go.
racer.
Yeah, we miss you, Dale. Come back.
Huh?
Next, we have Gemini, which is May 21st to June 20th. These are the twins. They're an air sign. They're ruled by Mercury. They can be adaptable, compassionate, communicative, insecure, flaky, superficial. Um, they seem to have a thirst for knowledge. They've got razor sharp wit. Um, a little bit flaky, but that's all right. Uh, they can do anything they put their minds to, always looking for the next challenge in life. They could also kind of be people pleasers, but also they can kind of blend in with any group of people. Like they can really adapt themselves to a certain crowd if need be. So yeah, lots of things going on for Gemini. So Maddie, take us away with your first Gemini pick.
My first one is Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is a Gemini.
I feel like that makes a lot of sense for Johnny Depp after what I just read.
Yeah. I grew up watching his movies over and over and over and over. Pirates of the Caribbean was the main one that I really enjoyed. I've anytime Johnny Depp is in a movie, he was in a movie called Dark Shadows, which is like a parody vampire movie. Also one of my favorite movies to watch. But there are times where I don't realize it's Johnny Depp as him playing somebody until I look at the credits. So it
Mhm.
always there are times where it's like, oh shit, that was Johnny Depp. Didn't know that.
I definitely
But
I definitely get that because of like the adaptable trait they listed, and it's like it really
yeah,
rattles my brain that it's like Johnny Depp played Edward Scissorhands and Jack Sparrow. Like those seem so far apart from each other, but he plays them both so
yeah.
well. So I definitely do get that. Like sometimes I have to remind myself what he was in just because like he can really take a role and run with it.
Mhm.
That's a good pick. My first one for Gemini is Paul McCartney. If you don't know Paul McCartney,
Oh.
he was in this band called the Beatles. Had a really good solo career.
If you don't know Paul McCartney, get out from the rock you live underneath.
Yeah, tell The Rock to get off of you. um, but yeah, I think this really does speak for Paul McCartney. Again, really adaptable. Um, he really went from being in one of the probably the most popular rock band in all of music history. I'll say that. I can get roasted in the comments. I don't care. And then had a really good solo career after that. He really, and he wasn't just doing Beatles stuff after that for the rest of his life. He definitely was very passionate about the Beatles after that, but he really carved his own way, made a really good solo career, which that could be said about, the other Beatles too, but I think it's definitely true for Paul McCartney. I could see him being a little bit of a people pleaser. Definitely him out of like any of the other Beatles. Um, but yeah, I just really like Paul McCartney. I'll talk about him any chance I get. Um, and yeah, he's very capable. He's always putting his mind to things, challenging himself. I mean, the man's still making music, and he's in his 70s. Like the man's given us enough music. He doesn't have to, but he's still doing it. So yeah, I love Paul McCartney. I know he's not always the best person, but I mean, come on, he gave us "Let It Be." All right, Maddie.
Yeah, and nobody's perfect anyway, so
Yeah, shout out Hannah Montana.
yeah. So my next one for Gemini. If Jaylene, are you done with
Yeah, I'm
is
done.
yours. Okay, is an actress named Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, that goes like
Now,
hand in hand with Johnny Depp.
yeah. Now, I think I got this right. You guys can roast me in the comments because I'll learn from it. But I'm pretty sure Helena Bonham Carter is Tim Burton's wife. So, just the Helena, she played a big role in the Harry Potter movies as well, and a lot of the horror movies or parody scary movies that I've seen, she's in them as well. And honestly, she does such a great job portraying just like a weird kind of creepy character. And I also think she's not bad looking. I got a little crush on her. I always have.
All right.
So shout out Helena Bonham Carter. If you see this, send me a heart emoji or something.
She's also in Fight Club, the best movie ever made. Um,
She's in Fight Club?
yeah, she's in Fight Club. You gotta watch Fight Club.
Damn.
It's so good. All right. My next Gemini is Kendrick Lamar. And what can you say about Kendrick that's new? I mean, definitely, um, probably the best rapper alive right now. He's such a great lyricist, great writer, great artist. And basically all the things I was saying about like Paul McCartney and how he approaches music, I kind of see the same thing in Kendrick Lamar, which these are two musicians that it's like I don't think I would have compared the two prior to this, but it's like yeah, they just keep one upping themselves. Like Kendrick is always like he'll put out like the best rap album you ever heard, and then he'll do it again. He's like, "Oh, you thought that one was good? Nah, here's this one. It's better." And it's like, "Oh shit, Kendrick." Um, yeah, I think that he really challenges himself. Razor sharp wit stands out for me with Kendrick also. Um, yeah, just two great musicians, and what will say about them on this podcast will not do justice for like what they've actually done with their music careers. So if you haven't listened to the Beatles or Kendrick Lamar, do yourself a favor. Those are two of the best artists of all time. I'm gonna say that right now. Maddie can back me up.
I can. I can.
um,
Always, viewers, always try to improve your music. Well, not improve, but broaden your music taste.
right.
There's so much out there.
Yeah. I mean, I will definitely say those are two artists that I don't think ever do the same thing twice. Um, and definitely for like Paul McCartney, who's been around since the '60s, it does bite you in the ass sometimes. You put out a bad album, but you know what? You just keep trucking on.
Yeah.
All right, next we've got Cancer. You'll find these guys between June 21st and July 22nd. Um, they're the crab. They're a water sign. They're ruled by the moon. They can be brave, nurturing, passionate, stubborn, selfish, or passive aggressive. Um, they are very loving, they're understanding, they're protectors, they can be kind and sensitive. They tend to feel things very deeply. Um, they lean into comfort a little bit more than other signs. Um, they, you know, but after all that, they I kind of see Cancer as being very sensitive, very protective, but then also like fuck around and find out. Like don't fuck with them,
Oh
or
yeah.
else you're gonna see
Yeah.
that other side of them. That's just kind of how I interpret this sign. Um, but like this last passage here is like get to know the sign better, and you'll only see the best in them. And I think that's true, especially based on like who I picked for this one. So Maddie, who did you pick? Your first pick for Cancer?
My first one, and Jaylene, the description you just said, I think it really goes well. My first one is Margot Robbie.
Oh, okay, all right.
Margot Robbie is a Cancer. My first my first exposure to her that I remember was the first Suicide Squad movie.
Hmm.
Obviously, she played Harley Quinn.
And she carried.
Um,
She carried that movie.
yeah, he definitely carried that movie, and it it just without Margot Robbie, I don't think it would have done. Honestly, it didn't do very good in the first place, but it would have done worse without her.
I agree.
Um, and then the next movie she was in was Barbie, and I made it a point. I made it a point to see the Barbie movie just because she was in it, because I think she's a wonderful actress, and
Hmm.
I could kind of see the cancer coming out in her in that movie as well.
That's true. Like Barbie in that movie is very, very nice, very sensitive. But then at the end, you kind of get that, don't fuck with Barbie
Yeah,
because she's gonna take Barbie World back over.
yeah.
That's a good pick. All right, I'm really happy to see Margot Robbie on this list. So my first pick for cancer is my mom, and as I was writing out this description, I was like, oh my god, yeah, this is my mom to a T. Like, I've never been so sure about anything in my life. Obviously she's my mom, so like the protecting and like nurturing nature, like I definitely get double because she raised me. She is my mother. Um, but I think my mom is a generally like very nice person. But she if you like really get under her skin, oh my god, the niceness can go away fast if you really start poking the bear. I remember one time I was talking to one of my friends about like how my mom like scared me when I was in high school because like she didn't beat us or anything, but like when she got mad, and she would let you know, and it didn't happen very often, but when it did, it's like, oh, mom's mad, like I pissed her off. And I was telling one of my friends that like it would scare me when she would yell like that. And she goes, "But your mom's really not scary, right?" And I'm like, "Not to you, cause she's nice to you." If you like, I feel bad for anybody that pisses my mom off because, and my mom will tell you firsthand that it's like she could be a bitch if she really needs to be. And like it's something that I've tried to assess in my own daily life where it's like I try to be a nice person 99% of the time. But, you know, also if I gotta call someone out, I'll do it. But my mom
Yeah,
just,
there are times, Jane. There are times where that side of you seeps through every now and again, and I don't like it.
yeah, I
It
learned it.
scares me.
I learned that from my mom, who is a Cancer. So again, my mom's probably gonna watch this also. So shout out to my mom. Um,
Yeah.
all right, Maddie, you're up. Who's your next Cancer pick?
So my next cancer pick, a personal favorite of mine, Nikola Tesla.
Oh, okay.
Nikola Tesla is by far one of my favorite inventors. I read a biography on him. I listened to an audiobook that was based off of a a summary of something he put in the paper back in his time. So that was really cool to listen to. But there there are times when he was working, he would not sleep for 24 hours. He would be up working on stuff, and it wouldn't even phase him. From what people have said that worked with him, like they would go to work, they would see Nikola Tesla there, they would leave, come back, and he'd be in the same spot working on stuff.
Oh boy.
And his most famous creation, the Tesla coil, he used to sleep under that motherfucker. He used to sleep under it. He
Is it
wasn't scared of it. He
is
knew
it
exactly how to handle it.
is it like for
Which
warmth, or he like didn't want anyone to steal it?
I don't I don't know. I just think he loved it too much.
All
He
right.
he would sleep underneath. And now I don't know much about uh, electricity, but I think he was safe underneath it because he was on the ground. I think
Ah,
I think
gotcha.
the I think the Tesla coil, the lightning from it just kind of phased past him because he was grounded. His whole body was on the ground, but
Mhm.
fucking crazy ass motherfucker sat underneath a machine that could kill people. And one of my favorite moments in the autobiography that I read, when he was a kid, he would have kind of weird. He would have visions of stuff he would create. He was kind of insane, a little bit insane. But there was a time when he was a kid, he was swimming with a group of his friends, and he ended up going under the water. And when he came up, he was underneath supports for a building, and he smacked his head. And I kid you not, in in the book, it mentioned him saying that when he hit his head, he could see the whole, like, he had a flash of the whole way the building was built.
Shit.
So
All right.
there's some crazy shit for you. And I honestly, I believe it. The guy who made all that shit, I believe it.
All right. Um, shout out Nikola Tesla. My next cancer I thought was pretty spot on is Princess Diana. Um, listen, she was the people's princess for a reason. She really cared deeply about people. She was very, very nurturing, very loving, but also stubborn. You know, like she really stood up to the crown when she decided like she was done being ridiculed by, Prince Charles, King Charles now. Um, can be seen as selfish for doing that, but sometimes you have to be a little selfish. And yeah, R.I.P. Princess Diana, gone too soon. Um, I love her.
She
uh,
was so cool. What an awesome lady.
yeah, definitely gone too soon.
Definitely.
Next we have Leo. Um, this is July 23rd to August 22nd. The lion sign. They're a fire sign. They're ruled by the sun. They can be protective, ambitious, generous, narcissistic, demanding, and arrogant. Um, again, these guys are very fiery, passionate. Um, they sometimes can feel like the world revolves around them, so a little self-absorbed at times. Uh, but they kind of earn being narcissistic because they definitely have that very forward presence. They are very dazzling people. They could be very like talented actors, CEOs. They tend to like climb ladders very easily. Um, but definitely have that big ego that can fault them at times.
That's
So,
so perfect for my first pick. Holy
so,
shit.
so who's your first pick, Matthew?
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Okay, all right. Well, we could just end the podcast there. We hit the nail on the head.
Napoleon Bonaparte is the literal definition of Leo. The amount of shit that guy did before he was even 25 years old is insane.
Mhm.
There is so much stuff that if I go into it, it's gonna take forever.
This is
So
just going to turn into a Napoleon podcast.
basically, I read an entire book on him too.
Mhm. Also, not that short. What was he like? He was like
No, he was around 5 feet. He wasn't that short.
I was thinking he was like 5'7", but I might be making that up. But I remember it being like he's not as short as like people think he actually was. But
Yeah, that's a common misconception.
mhm. Yeah, if you want to hear us do a Napoleon episode, let us know. We could probably talk about Napoleon Bonaparte for like a whole hour and not get bored. My first
That
pick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just glazing Napoleon again.
Um,
Just a cool dude.
my first pick for Leo is Greta Gerwig. If you don't know her, she is a director. She directed the Barbie movie. She did the Little Women remake that came out in like 20. When did that come out? Was it like 2019? I think around that time. She also did Lady Bird. She did other things, but those are like my three favorite movies of her. Um, I listen. I'm a feminist at heart. I love seeing a woman director like pop off, and like really, I am truly a big fan of hers. Like I have yet to see a Greta Gerwig movie that I don't like. Um, like she killed it with Barbie, like completely out of the park, and um, yeah, I just like seeing powerful women do their thing, and she does that. So shout out Greta
Hell
Gerwig.
yeah.
Welcome on the show anytime.
Jimmy, you're a powerful woman.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
tell you that right now. You're a powerful woman.
I want to be the next Greta Gerwig. Not really. All right, Maddie, who's your next Leo?
My next one is Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay. How many Harry
So he
Potter
played Harry.
how many Harry Potter actors are on your list?
That's it. We got all of them.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, no, I didn't have Ron. I didn't see him when I was looking through. with signs.
All
But
right.
Daniel Radcliffe, obviously best well known for Harry Potter. Um, I don't I don't know. I don't follow him personally on his personal stuff.
Mhm.
Like The Rock has his own Instagram and all that. I don't know much into Daniel Radcliffe's like his own life, but there are some movies that he was in that wasn't Harry Potter when he was older. There was one movie, I think it was called The Woman in Black. Basically, Daniel Radcliffe, he was a father in that movie who was living in a cursed house, and you could see the Leo come out of him in that he was a very powerful father figure in that movie.
I feel like he's kind of had the same career path as like Robert Pattinson, where it's like he did that big picture deal, very popular, made a bunch of money, and now he's kind of just doing passion projects. Like he's just
Yeah,
only like he's not in it for the money because he made a shit ton of money with Harry Potter. Now he's kind of just like doing what he wants, which I love that for him.
yeah, yep.
Um,
I Daniel Radcliffe, great guy. Send me a heart emoji if you see this. Just
Jesus
send it to my
Christ,
DMs.
you can't say that for every Harry Potter actor on your list.
Huh?
My next Leo, um, is that one guy I met at a weed dispensary in NYC. He told me he was a Leo. He was so high, I could see like the weed radiating off of him almost. Like he had like a weed aura. He's a super nice guy. And yeah, shout out, miss you guy. That's probably one of like the best interactions I've ever had with a stranger. I think I told that story on another podcast. So watch all
Yeah,
the
I think he
podcasts
did.
if you want to see that. But shout out to that guy.
If
All
you
right.
find out what podcast it's in, let us know in the
Yeah,
comments
tell us in
and
the
the
comment.
timestamp.
Yeah, so I could rewatch it. Alrighty. I'm gonna try and speed this along a little bit, because we're at 40 minutes already. Next we have Virgo, which is August 23rd to September 22nd. Um, they're symbolized by the maiden. Earth sign ruled by Mercury. They can be organized, rational, resourceful, perfectionist, obsessive, and anxious. Um, they're definitely a little nitpicky, detail oriented, but they do achieve their goals very easily. They know sort of how to get to that point. Um, they're always trying to improve themselves, help improving others. Very much have the inner critic in them that's constantly going off. Um, they definitely are more hard on themselves than they are on anybody else. Um, but, you know, progress is perfection. Maddie, who is your first Virgo?
My first Virgo is our very own Tegan Jones.
Hmm. Which we've talked to Tegan about him being a Virgo, and he always points out that he's like not very organized. I would like to rebuttal that right here because anytime I will ask like the simplest question about like a plaid couch like scheduling thing, and then he ends up pulling up like the year-long calendar and like goes in depth about like what's on the schedule and what we're planning and what we need to do. And I'll be
Yeah.
sitting in a Discord call, like listening to him go on, and I'm like, and you say you're not organized. I don't have a year-long calendar for literally anything. I think he is organized, and like a perfectionist about very particular things. Like I think he sees it as being like this overbearing, like you have to be all the time. But like if Tegan really wants to get something done, really wants to achieve a goal, he will make it happen and he will be organized too. Like he's not gonna go in blind on anything. Um
No.
so Tegan, if you're watching this, you're being too hard on yourself, which it says that in the book too. So
Yeah.
uh,
Stop being hard on yourself. This is all
yeah.
for fun.
um there was another thing in here that made me think of Tegan. Where did it go? Um oh, like improving the lives of themselves or others. Tegan is good to have as a friend in that regard because he is like if we bring something up about wanting to get better at or improve on, he will definitely be that friend who will like help you achieve a goal and help you better yourself. I mean, he's not going out of his way to be like, Matthew, you need to start lifting weights more, or like Jaylene, you need to like, you know, get better at running. But like if you say like, hey, I wanna get better at this thing, like he'll be the guy to help you with it. Um, so I think it's true. I think Tegan is definitely a Virgo. Um, he can argue it all he wants. He's wrong if he says he isn't. So my first Virgo is Freddie Mercury. Um, I just started grinning as soon as I said Freddie Mercury. I know you can't see me, but I've got like the biggest grin on my face.
What a
um,
great guy.
I'm like what is it like? Oh my god, I can't even think of words because I'm so in awe of Freddie Mercury. Another one just gone too soon. And yeah, he was definitely a perfectionist. I think Freddie Mercury was very hard on himself. I think that's also kind of what made him a good musician. He was always challenging himself, always trying to, you know, do the next big thing. Um, and yeah, I'm
Sounds like somebody else we know. Wink, wink.
um I'm very upset that I never got to live at the same time as Freddie Mercury. But I'm very happy that he left the legacy that he did. And that's all I have to say about Freddie Mercury. Because again, what can you say about Freddie Mercury that hasn't been said already?
Yeah.
All right, Maddie, your next Virgo.
My next Virgo is Keanu Reeves.
Okay, I
Keanu
knew.
Reeves, and honestly, it made me laugh when I realized Keanu Reeves and Tegan were both Virgo.
That,
Because honestly, I think I'd be great friends with Keanu Reeves. I think we would get along just like how I get along with Tegan.
do you think we could
But
replace Tegan with Keanu Reeves?
no, we could never replace Tegan. Now,
But with
substitute him. Yeah.
uh, let us know if you want to see Keanu Reeves on the podcast. We'll invite him.
So, obviously, I grew up watching Keanu Reeves with The Matrix and all that. I have not seen any of the John Wick movies. I don't know why,
That
but
seems
I
right
have to
up your
watch them
alley.
sometime. Yeah, I have to watch them sometime. Keanu Reeves, great guy, just a beautiful soul in movies, outside of movies, just a good guy, and I appreciate that in a very shitty world.
Hell yeah! Shout out Keanu Reeves. Um, my next one, you're gonna see a theme with my Virgos here, is Amy Winehouse. Um, gone,
Okay,
gone way too soon. That woman, oh my god, she had a very tragic life, and it bothers me that the people close to her just failed her. Like if you don't really know the whole story of Amy Winehouse, and if you think she just died because she was a drug addict, I would very, very highly recommend you like do some reading about her because it's very tragic what happened to Amy Winehouse. And she was a beautiful soul, very great singer, and just gone too soon. And when I saw she was a Virgo, it made sense, and I was like, I need to talk about Amy. I just feel like, and that wasn't that long ago, like 2011. Like, yeah, it's been almost 15 years since we lost her, but it's like we moved on from Amy Winehouse way too fast, and it's just tragic, and the way we lost her is sad. So shout out Amy Winehouse. And I didn't mean to like really drag down this podcast with bringing her up, but yeah, I like her a lot, and I just feel like she
hey, I'm
isn't
learning
brought up
stuff,
enough.
so I
Yeah.
don't mind it.
So let's bring the mood back up here, shall we, and talk about some Libras. This is
Which I
September.
will with my first pick.
All right, this is September 23rd to October 22nd. The scales, they're an air sign ruled by Venus. They can be diplomatic, peaceful, charming, passive aggressive, indecisive, and self absorbed. They could kind of be seen as peacemakers, very caring souls, um, very natural charm, great communicators. They have a very deep sense of empathy. Fairness is very important to them. They can really see both sides of an argument and really help people hash things out in that regard. Um, they can be very good bosses, very good leaders, but also just good companions and very good friends to have. So, Matthew, who is your first Libra?
Bruno Mars.
Oh, okay. I would have not guessed that coming from you in a million years, but all right. Go ahead.
Bruno Mars, what a wonderful musician. I my first iPod that I had was an iPod Shuffle, the little square one,
Hmm.
and half of my music was Bruno Mars. His music just is always seems to be upbeat and happy, and it gets me in the groove, the dance, and I love me some Bruno Mars.
Hell yeah. Um, I just wasn't expecting that, but let's go. Let's go, Bruno Mars. Shout out. Send him a heart emoji,
Yeah,
or have him
send me a
send
heart
Matthew one.
emoji if
Yeah.
you see this, you know.
um. So my first Libra is Paul Simon from Simon and Garfunkel, but he also had a very good, very successful solo career. I don't know a ton about Paul Simon. I'm a big fan of his music. Definitely like if I'm gonna listen to folk music, I tend to listen to Simon and Garfunkel the most. But like his self-titled record's one of my favorites. Graceland is such a good record. Um, and yeah, you've got to be a little like diplomatic to be married to Carrie Fisher, which they were married for a short time. And
Uh-huh.
you kind of have to be that way if you're going to be with someone like Carrie Fisher. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but she was a very strong-willed woman. um, but yeah, I don't know. I just again, I like to bring up Paul Simon. I really like his music, and he seems to be. I don't know a whole lot about the guy, but he seems to be pretty unproblematic for being an old man. So if you haven't listened to Paul Simon, give him a listen. All right, Maddie, your next Libra.
Next one is Hugh Jackman.
Oh, okay.
Hugh Jackman is a Libra. Uh, did a very good job portraying Wolverine, all these years. But I think his best performance is from The Greatest Showman.
I heard he's really good in that.
You haven't seen it?
No,
Oh my goodness.
coming from a guy who
Anyway,
hasn't
Hugh
seen Fight
Jackman.
Club or
Yeah,
John
that's
Wick. I don't want to
that's.
hear it.
I never expected Hugh Jackman to be such a great kind of ringleader and performer in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, The Greatest Showman, just because of how he portrayed Wolverine
Hmm.
in the other movies. So it's and I know I learned a little bit about Hugh outside of his acting career, and he just seems like a very nice person.
Hmm.
It's sad. I'm sad that he's getting old because we're gonna be losing a lot of good actors,
Hmm.
in the next few years, and I'm gonna be tearing up a bit.
So, have you seen Logan?
Yes, I've seen
Oh,
Logan.
such a good movie.
It is great.
I'll talk about that movie any chance I get. Um, my next Libra is F. Scott Fitzgerald, who, if you don't know,
Ooh,
who wrote The Great Gatsby. Um, and I feel like just these traits kind of describe that book in a whole. There's definitely there's definitely a lot of shit that happens in The Great Gatsby, a lot of different perspectives you have to take into account. I think The Great Gatsby is one of the best books to like reread over and over again because every time I read it, I like pick up on something different. Um, and like self-absorbed, I think just describes literally every character in that book. They're all kind of like the center of their own universes. Um, but then the way the characters interact obviously has repercussions on everybody else. It's a good book, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. Again, I don't know much about him besides that he wrote one of my favorite books of all time. Um, but when I saw him on this list of actually, I was making this list. I had somebody else as my Libra, and then I was writing out the descriptions, and I'm like, this just feels like The Great Gatsby. Like I'm getting Gatsby vibes just from reading this description. So I don't remember who I had on there originally, but I took them out to add F. Scott Fitzgerald. Um,
you know, I never read that book. I never had to.
you would love it. You would like that book, and it's a short read. I have it if you want to borrow it. Um,
I might.
it's a good book. I think I've read it 3 times. And I just don't get sick of it. All right, next we've got Scorpio. This is October 23rd to November 21st. They're the Scorpion. They're a water sign ruled by Pluto. They can be magnetic, ambitious, imaginative, manipulative. They can manipulate people.
Yep.
My
Yep.
God.
Manipulative. Yep.
Thank
We get
you.
it.
Obsessed and vindictive. Um, Listen, they're very smart, strategic. Um,
Okay.
they can be very mysterious. Um, they can be quite confident. They, know how to just get shit done. Um, Money and power can be very important to these guys. Um, they can be very intense, but they also can stay pretty collected because of their intelligence. Um, and yeah, you don't want to go up against a Scorpio, but they do. If you befriend one, they're good companions to have. And I just want to say before we get into this is all what I read from this book. I didn't make anything up. So I just want to put a disclaimer out there. So Matthew, who's your
Why
first
would you put a
Scorpio?
disclaimer out there?
I just feel like it needs a disclaimer for everything I just said.
Okay, so my first Scorpio, a very important person to me, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio. He's in he's in Titanic, which I've never seen, but through uh, pop osmosis, I know all about it.
I want to bring up, you gave me shit for not seeing The Greatest Showman, and you keep listing classic movies that you haven't seen. I just think that's important to point out.
It's through pop cultural osmosis. That's how I know about this shit.
Okay,
It
sorry.
doesn't ever go away. But Leonardo DiCaprio, probably one of my favorite. I love seeing him in movies. He does such a good job, especially if he plays a role of like kind of like a deceitful, charming leader. Oh, he does it. He does that so well, and he's just such a handsome guy.
Yeah, him and
I wish I
Django,
was like Leonardo DiCaprio, but that will never happen.
him and Django Unchained.
That's exactly what I was referring to.
Oh, such a good role.
Django Unchained's one of my favorite movies.
It's really good. My first Scorpio is also an actor. It's none other than Ryan Gosling. And if I was gritting for Freddie Mercury, I'm grinning double for Ryan Gosling. Oh my god. That man is like male perfection to me. I same with Leo. I love seeing him in any movie. I've seen most Ryan Gosling movies, even the bad ones, just that's cuz how much I love Ryan Gosling. And not even from just like a superficial reason. I think he is a really good actor. Um he was great in Barbie. Obviously, La La Land is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think Lars and the Real Girl is a fun movie that a lot of people haven't seen. The Nice Guys. I just love Ryan Gosling, and he seems like a good person. I don't know if he actually is, um, but he at least, if he's not actually a good person, then he's definitely good at pretending. Which, hey, that goes with like manipulating people and you know being imaginative, I guess. But yeah, shout out Ryan Gosling. All right, Matthew, who's your next
Send really
Scorpio?
hard emoji if you see this.
Yeah. All right, Matthew, who's your next Scorpio?
My next one is, of course, you,
Okay.
Jaylene.
I was hoping I'd make your list because I didn't make my own.
Why? You're my favorite Scorpio. You got a sick tattoo of a Scorpio as well.
Well,
Um,
I have a scorpion tattoo that I didn't. This is how much of a Scorpio I am. I got a scorpion tattoo on my rib cage because I thought it would look cool. I didn't even like put the connection together that I am a Scorpio. But I guess it makes sense that I just gravitated to a scorpion tattoo.
yeah,
So I had to interject
and
there.
there are times where I Jaylene's really good at making herself seem like she's in pain, and then when you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," she just gives you the big middle finger and says, "Fuck you, I'm fine."
Is that when
And those moments I remember the most, Jaylene.
I
Is
only
because
I do that to get a laugh. Matthew's bringing that up because I did that to him in laser tag one time. To
you did it to me more than once. You did it to me when I lived at my old apartment too.
yeah, I do it to get a rise out of people. um, yeah. Well, hey, what can I say?
I mess with Jaylene, and then when she really leans into it, I can't tell if she's faking or. And then she'll stick me with the middle finger or just say "fuck you." Hmm.
It's fun. I do it to you the most because
Yeah,
and I
but
think it's because
besides that,
yeah, I think it's because you're such a good friend that you're always like looking out for people. So it's like, oh, I can get Matthew to think I'm actually like hurting here, and then I just hit him with the
yeah,
fuck off.
manipulation definitely got that down. But no, I'm just kidding on that. But the main thing is, Jaylene, you're a very powerful, very powerful leader as well. And the way you organize stuff, I don't think if I never would have met you, honestly, I would not have been able to experience a lot of the stuff that I was able to because of your planning and just your kind of rebellious spirit as far as just wanting to try new stuff. It gets me out of my shell that I always try to break. I try to break my shells often, and you help out a lot with that. So
Oh well,
thank you.
thank you, Matthew. That's very kind. Um, oh my god, my arm hurts so bad.
Oh no.
Oh, my arm really hurts. I might have to stop recording. I'm just kidding. Fuck you.
God damn it. Here we go.
um.
I was
Oh.
about to say, are you having a heart attack?
um. My next Scorpio, you're gonna see a theme with both of my Scorpios, is Emma Stone, uh, who's also an actress.
Ooh.
She was in The Amazing Spider-Man. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the second Amazing Spider-Man, they fucking kill her. God damn, not my girl Gwen Stacy. Um, and she's in another movie that I really like that I can't remember the name of, but she's also in La La Land with Ryan Gosling. Um, and I'm gonna go off the Scorpio tangent here because I just need to do this small little tangent real quick, which is why I included these two people specifically. I think when I watched La La Land for the first time, it actually rewired my brain. Like something about that movie, I don't know what it did, but like it changed me. And I just needed to mention that. Uh, I guess it does make sense that it was two Scorpios who like changed the way that I view cinema and just Hollywood in general, I guess. But La La Land's so good. Those are two of my favorite actors of all time. I was already in love with Ryan Gosling, and I had obviously seen Emma Stone and Spider Man before that. But that really that really was like, holy cow, these two actors are great. This movie's awesome. And yeah, I'll never be as attractive as either of those people. But you know what? I don't want to be. They could be hotter than me forever. That's fine. So,
Emma Stone, she's a looker for sure. God
oh,
damn.
I love her. Um, all right, next we got Sagittarius. These people were born between November 22nd to December 21st. They're the Archer. They're a fire sign ruled by Jupiter. They can be funny, adventurous, idealistic, reckless, impatient, and judgmental. Um, they definitely have high energy, optimism, confidence. Um, can be a little delusional at times. They always seem to pull shit off. Um, they're constantly testing boundaries of their comfort zones, and they can be they tend to be good at whatever they put their mind to, but they can get a little preachy sometimes. Um, but this last part here, they definitely keep life interesting. So that being said, Maddie, who is your first Sagittarius you got on your list?
My first Sagittarius is Billie Eilish.
Oh, I didn't know she was a Sagittarius. Okay. Hell yeah.
I didn't know either.
All
But
right.
I really like Billie Eilish's music, and
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of her interviews. She seems like if I got to meet her once, I think I would fall in love immediately.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie,
She's awesome.
but she is just it goes hand in hand with the Sagittarius description.
Hmm.
She I think she's one of the artists who tries to do new things,
Hmm.
and at first it's kind of like that's kind of weird, but then later on it's like, you know what, that was actually pretty awesome.
Like,
Plus
I think testing.
she's just,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
uh I just the last thing is I really enjoy her music.
She's a very good musician. I think specifically like testing boundaries is just that could be just her music because she's always doing something crazy with her music, and I think it always pays off for her. Like she's got I think 3 albums out, and I like them all. I know a lot of people didn't like Happier Than Ever. I thought it was a good record. But that's a good pick. Uh, yeah, it makes sense that she's a Sagittarius. I think. My first Sagittarius is none other than Matthew Boff, Matty Ice himself. Um,
Uh-huh.
Out of all our friends, I feel like you are the most like like closely aligned with your astrological sign, and it just makes sense for you. The archery thing, obviously, like you are into archery, you coached archery. Um,
Yes.
so just looking at it from that angle, it makes sense. Um, the one thing, it's like just them being able to pull shit off. Sometimes, like how you get yourself like out of situations or like the way you get stuff done. I'm like, how the hell did he do that? How did he pull that off? I don't
Yeah.
understand. Because, and I think it's because like Teg and I are such planners about everything, and not necessarily that you aren't, but like you're just, I think, better at just blindly going into a situation where Tegan and I feel like have to overanalyze things a little bit more. And you're more of just like a, fuck it, whatever, I'll figure it out kind of a guy. Um,
Yeah.
which could never be me. Never ever. um, but you said something very nice when you were talking about me about how like I help you get out of your comfort zone. I feel like you do that with me. I'm not a very impulsive person. I like to plan things out. You kind of get me to just do dumb, like impulsive shit, and yeah, it's something that I wouldn't do if we weren't friends. And it could be as simple as like, Jaylene, it's 11:30 at night. Do you just want to go to McDonald's? And it's like that's something that's so stupid and silly that it's like it just almost feels like it's not allowed to me because I don't live in that world where I can just like impulsively do things. Like I have to have a schedule, I have to be organized. You kind of break through that
Yeah.
barrier a little bit, but it's like no, you can do those things. And some of the dumbest shit that I've done with you. And it's always fun. We always have a good story to tell, but it's like there was one day I think you and I were up to like 5 a.m. just cruising around like town, and I had to go to work the next day at 8 o'clock, and I was so tired. But we had so much fun, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing
Yeah.
I've ever had to do. I was up all night like just bullshitting with men, but it was fun, and it's just it really gets me out of my comfort zone, and we get a lot of good stories out of it. Um, and I think that's why we make good friends. So I
Yeah.
will do all
Thank you.
the I'll do all the planning, but you get me to do all the reckless shit, which I need to do sometimes.
Yeah. I can plan stuff. I just hate planning shit out. It's
Hmm.
not fun to me.
Yeah. So you don't just like hang out on hotels.com for fun like I do.
No. I plan things out when if I don't, I know I'll get in or something might really go wrong if I don't plan something out.
That's
Other
fair.
than that, though, I just say fuck it. Well, fuck it, we ball.
Pretty much, yeah. If you want to know what it's like having Matthew as a friend, that's it right there. Matthew, who's your next Sagittarius?
My next one is myself. I know I'm such a vain person, but I if I were to travel back in time and talk to my younger self, he wouldn't believe the shit that I've done,
Hmm.
in my adulthood because he was I just I had so many. I've had a lot of barriers in my life, and we, recently after graduate, not recently, but after graduating high school, something changed in my mind to the point where I've been able to break through a lot of the stuff that kind of has been holding me back. So I put myself on the list because I try to do the best I can for me.
Hell yeah. Um,
That's
I
it.
would I would bounce off that, but I already talked about you, so I got to get to my next one, who's way more important than
Yeah.
you, which is Taylor
Huh?
Swift. I mean,
Oh
come
shit, she's
on.
Sagittarius?
Oh my God, she is Sagittarius to a fucking T. I think
Huh?
she is like, I mean, almost sort of the same thing you could say about Billie Eilish, which I'll probably get cooked for this for comparing the two. But they've really broken down barriers in the music industry. I know Taylor Swift gets a lot of shit, but it's because she's the biggest artist in the world right now. I think she's definitely earned her place up top. Um, I don't know. She has worked her ass off, and I think if we're gonna have like, I think she's a good face of the music industry. Like for being the biggest artist in the world, she doesn't seem like a big piece of shit or anything like that. It seems like somebody who really has worked their ass off, who really does care about how they got there. Um, and yeah, just breaking down boundaries, figuring shit out. And I wouldn't really call myself a Swiftie, but I definitely am a fan of Taylor Swift and her music. And if anyone's going to be the face of the music industry, I'm glad that it's her. I think she does a good job. So the Swifties are welcome here. We won't get mad at
I
you
would have
for,
to I would have to agree.
yeah.
Something really weird happened on my Spotify rap that I don't know why it did, but my Spotify rap, my top artist was Taylor Swift, but I don't remember listening to her. So that just proves that because she was number one on my Spotify rap, she's number one for real.
Hell yeah. Did somebody hack into your Spotify just to listen to Taylor Swift?
I don't know. Even my sister was confused. It's like, what?
Matthew is secretly a Taylor Swift stan. He just doesn't want to admit it. Matthew is actually the biggest Swiftie I know. Um, next we have Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th. These are the sea goats, which I didn't realize. I always thought the Capricorns were just like the goat sign, but no, they're sea goats, which I just thought was interesting. They're an earth sign. They're ruled by Saturn. They can be responsible, ambitious, driven, pessimistic, opportunity. Op, op, they like a good opportunity. They can,
Oppenheimer.
yes, Oppenheimer, and they can be cheap. Um, they can sometimes have control issues. Um, workaholics. They're very kind-hearted. Can be very funny. Um, they are very dedicated to discipline. But they can also be very good friends. They can sort of um, kind of let all that go away if you really, if they really warm up to you. They kind of shed that hardness, that roughness to them, um, and really unclench. So, Matthew, who's your first Capricorn?
My first Capricorn, a very recent favorite of mine, actors, Timothy Chalamet.
He just missed my list. I'm so glad you brought him up. Okay.
I fell in love with the way he acted with the Wonka movie. I
Ooh.
kid you not, I saw that movie 3 to 4 times in the theater, whether it was with my family or just by myself. I just I love that movie to bits, and Timothy Chalamet really just put his charm on me with that movie. I
Oh
need to
yeah.
see more movies with him in it. I really
I
do.
I will send you a list. He's such a good actor. Um and yeah, very ambitious, very driven. Um he loves a good opportunity. Dedication's another one in there. Um Also like another thing is like being kind-hearted and funny. He just seems like that kind of guy. Um Actually, when he was in high school, this is a fun fact about Timothée. When he was in high school, he had a YouTube channel where he modded Xbox controllers and then would show them off on YouTube.
That's fucking awesome.
So not only is he a great actor, that's what this kid was doing in high school or college. I think it was high school, but yeah, I Timothy almost made my list and I bumped him because of my second pick. But I'm so glad you brought him up. My first pick for Capricorn is David Bowie. Just
Oh my goodness.
there'll never be another David Bowie. He
No.
is just one of a kind. I feel like something changed after he died. Like whatever was like keeping David Bowie here on Earth, like was like keeping our planet from going into disarray. And ever since he's been gone, we've just been going downhill. Um,
Huh?
I can't help it. Like, so, like I know a big joke with our generation is like nothing's been the same since Harambe died. Nothing has been the same since David Bowie like died and went to Mars or wherever they put him after he died. Um, I love David Bowie. I he has such a um, massive, huge career, lots of longevity. His last album that he made before his passing is one of his best pieces of work. And yeah, I'm very happy we get to live in a time where we have David Bowie's music. And we'll just never have another David Bowie. Um, and yeah, shout out David Bowie.
He had heterochromatia too, didn't he?
He had what now?
Eyes,
What?
two different colored eyes.
Yeah, he had like I don't remember what it was, but one of his eyes was different. It was like a lazy eye. Um,
That's awesome.
I think it was because of something in his youth, but I don't remember. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, he was a freak
He
in the
was in a
he was a freak in the best way. Like I don't mean that in a bad way. Like he was a freak, and I love him for it.
right. My uh my favorite. Obviously, he made good music, but I really liked him in the well.
Yeah, Labyrinth is good. Um, yeah, Maddie, I'll send you some David Bowie songs that I feel like you'd really fuck with. The thing is, there's so much David
Awesome.
Bowie. Like some of my favorite Bowie songs, I feel like aren't even. This is gonna make me sound pretentious. But my favorite Bowie songs aren't like his like biggest hits. Like my favorite Bowie record is Station to Station, which I mean it's good. It's very critically acclaimed, but like everybody always talks about like Ziggy Stardust and Aladdin Sane and um, that one record that came out in the 80s that I don't really like. So
Uh,
there's so much Bowie, and I think there's something for everybody if you're willing to look for it. Um, yeah, I just love David Bowie. I'll talk about him any chance I get. Maddie, who's your next Capricorn?
my my second Capricorn is Isaac Newton.
Okay, hell yeah.
Isaac Newton, obviously another inventor. He helped us figure out gravity. Just another. I don't understand where the like Nikola Tesla and Isaac Newton. I don't understand where these people got the knowledge. I almost think it's almost supernatural because the only person I can think of who might be close to them is Elon Musk, but I don't know how people get this kind of knowledge, and I just love reading about them just to see all the crazy stuff that they did. Isaac Newton did a lot, um, but I don't want to bore you with a history lesson.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of history, my next Capricorn is Joan of Arc.
Oh shit!
Yeah, she's just a badass.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, I just like talking like any chance I had to talk about Joan of Arc, I'll take it. Um, Definitely very ambitious, driven. Um, Especially in a time where like women weren't known for like being able to have opinions or they were just homemakers and wives and here comes Joan of Arc being like, nah, fuck that. Actually,
No,
fuck that and
yeah.
fuck
I'm gonna
you.
put this armor on and wield
Yeah.
this sword. Didn't she? Didn't she? Oh my gosh, what's the word? Didn't she pose as like a man?
You just cut out.
Oh, didn't I don't remember now. Never mind. Forget it.
We'll do a history lesson after, Matthew. I'll give you the whole rundown of Joan of Arc. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. If you want to learn more about history, this is not the podcast to do it. All right, we're getting close to the end here. We got 2 signs left. We have Aquarius, which is January 20th to February 18th. This is the water bearer. They're an air sign. They're ruled by Uranus. Can be inventive, open, forward thinkers, detached, argumentative, and temperamental. They can be very brilliant. They're dreamers. They're always working hard to grow and evolve and create a better world. Can be very chatting, charming. Um, gathering support is very important to them. So things like voter registration events, getting people organized and together for a cause. But sometimes like to stir shit up. Sometimes it's for the attention. Sometimes it is for an actual cause. Either way, it can be very effective. Um, I'm very, very excited for this one. But Matthew, I'd like to hear your first Aquarius.
My first one is Thomas Edison.
Okay. That makes
Another
sense.
inventor. Like I said, some of the knowledge these guys have, it's almost super. And I wish I could get a taste of that knowledge at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way I can think of that is just by keep challenging stuff that I do with work and stuff. So hopefully I can come up with something amazing like these guys, but probably not.
So, well, they are dreamers, according Edison, anyway.
Yeah.
Edison was only doing it for the attention, though, right?
Probably a little bit.
Although yeah. My first Aquarius, which I think makes sense for Aquarius, is Abraham Lincoln. Arguably like one of, if not the best president the United States has ever had. Truly became president at like the worst time in our country's history, and did a good job. I mean, I don't care like what you believe in history wise, politics wise. He came in and he really proved himself, especially for someone who like wasn't born into, like he didn't have a standard education. He wasn't meant to be somebody. He was, and the guy was born in a log cabin and like taught himself how to read. And then became one of the most important people in American history. And I love learning about Abraham Lincoln, personally, one of my favorite presidents. And yeah, I think you should be able to challenge every American president we've had as an American. There are definitely things that I didn't agree with Lincoln, to be said with every president, but I am always inspired by Abe Lincoln, and I love learning new things about him. And yeah, I love Abraham Lincoln. I'm not going on a history lesson. I think it really fits in with him being an Aquarius. I think it does make sense.
So, Jaylene, you didn't have to tell me all of that because my second Aquarius was also Abraham Lincoln.
Hell yeah.
What an amazing person.
Yeah.
And an excellent vampire hunter as well. If you know the movie.
Okay. Matthew has not seen Fight Club. He has not seen Titanic, but he said he's seen Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
I own it.
Is there anything else you want to say about Abraham Lincoln, or did we kind of get all the points about Honest Abe here?
We got all the points. I think, honestly, Abraham Lincoln, he was human, obviously, so he wasn't perfect, but as close as you can get to a good person, I think that was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, especially at, like, again, like the time that he was president and like was getting into politics. Like, to be that kind of person at that time was very important. My next Aquarius, these were the two people. These are okay. I feel like I have to preface this because this one was very important to me. These are two of like the most, besides the people I know in real life, are two of like the most important people probably to me in my life that are like famous. I never, ever, ever would have thought of them being similar in any way. But as I was doing research for this podcast, I'm like, they are kind of similar. I kind of get the similarities, and you're just going to have to bear with me on this. My next Aquarius is Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. And at first
Okay.
I'm like, no, there's nothing between like Billy Joe Armstrong and Abraham Lincoln. But as I was reading this, um, I mean, Billy Joe, obviously a dreamer. He's in like one of the biggest punk bands in the world, like very big rock band. Um, but another thing is just like how he gets people together. Like, obviously he has a big fan base, but also like Billy Joe's very good at stirring the pot. Billy Joe gets himself into a bit of controversy just for speaking his mind.
Yep.
Sometimes he probably does it for attention, but also like he's very opinionated. He's gonna let his opinion know. He's not the guy who's gonna just you know sit and let people think of him one way. Um, he's gonna let people know how he feels, and if like people don't agree with him, he's kind of got that fuck it attitude. And not that Lincoln necessarily had that, but um, I don't know. I think they're both really good at just gathering that support for certain causes and getting people riled up in the right way. And obviously, I think that because I like Green Day a lot. But I just think these are two people who are doing very ambitious things for what they believe is the right reasons. Do I think they're like really, really similar? No, but I could kind of see where it's like, all right, I get why I like learning about these people so much because they do kind of have that same drive to them, if that makes sense. And I'm going on
Yeah.
a bit of a tangent, but like I said, I love Billy Joe Armstrong. Green Day is my favorite band. Again, like there's a lot of things that Billy Joe has done and said that I don't necessarily agree with. Sometimes he'll go on a rant, and I'm like, I don't know about that one. Um, but I think he does mean well. Um, and I just love learning about him and new things about him. And yeah, he's up there with Lincoln for me. They're both just so important to me in my life. I went on a tangent, but like I don't know. I love Lincoln and I love Billy Joe Armstrong.
Two great people to have.
Honestly, yeah. Billy Joe Armstrong, send me a heart emoji. All right. So last one here is Pisces. This is February 19th to March 20th. The fish. They're a water sign ruled by Neptune. They can be creative, intuitive, compassionate, self indulgent, destructive, and delusional. Um, they're sensitive at times. They tend to feel a lot of feelings at once. They kind of get lost in their own thoughts a lot. Uh, Definitely daydreamers. Um, they kind of um, they kind of see the world differently than everybody else, which makes them very good creators, but they're also great coworkers, friends, partners. Sometimes they just need somebody to kind of bring them back to earth to ground them a little bit. Um, so, Matthew, who is your first Pisces?
My first Pisces is Albert Einstein,
Okay.
the face of science, and just another man who was blessed with the knowledge that could change, and he used it to do that.
Yeah. He's a very interesting person. That's another person I don't really get tired of learning about. He had a very interesting life and just the things he
Yes.
did. Very awe-inspiring. Um, my first Pisces is John Hamm. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know a lot about John Hamm. He's one of my favorite actors. He plays I just drew a blank. Don Draper in Mad Men. Um,
Okay.
and a lot of these traits just made me think of Don Draper, not so much John Hamm. Like the self-indulgent, destructive, a little delusional at times. Definitely the bad traits are Donald Draper coded. Um, but I don't know. I feel like John Hamm is uh I don't even know how to describe it. He just seems different than like other actors that I've seen. Like he really he can really take a role and run with it. I have a hard time seeing John Hamm as not Don Draper, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but he really just had made that role his own. which makes me not like him at times, but at the same time, he's also very attractive. So it's like you can't help but look at him. Um, but yeah, I obviously love Mad Men. It's one of my favorite shows, and I love John Hamm. And yeah, that's all I got to say about him. If you haven't watched Mad Men, go watch it. Highly recommend.
I need to see it.
You would love it.
I
It's
need to
right
watch
up
it.
your alley.
I it sucks because I don't got Netflix.
Well, it's not even on Netflix anymore. I think it's on Prime.
See, I don't got Prime either. I could go see it at my mom's. I
Start having Mad Men nights with your mom.
will do. So my second Pisces is George Washington,
Ooh, okay, that's a good pick.
the first president of the United States, and just an overall wonderful, just excellent leader.
Mhm.
You know, kind of goes hand in hand. George Washington's the pinnacle of what a leader should be, and it's just to be the first president and to set the ways that we are still having today as
Mm.
goes is just inspiring to me.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the way we shaped the U.S. presidency obviously is because of George Washington. Like this was a guy
Yeah,
who led us into freedom, and like the people wanted to make him king. Like okay, King Washington, and he very much was against that. He wanted something different, um and to step down when he did, and um I wish we listened to him a little bit more than what we did.
yeah.
But after he died, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, I mean, right away we're like, nah, actually, fuck that guy. We're gonna do our own
Oh,
thing. And yeah, I don't know. I agree with that. George Washington, great leader, and man, I wish we listened to that guy just a little bit more than what we actually did.
yeah.
But
I would love to. Actually, I don't know if I would love to hear it. It might be real to hear what our forefathers would say about our modern day sort of thing.
yeah, you flipped your camera again.
Oh shit.
There you go. Um, yeah. The thing is with that, and I'm going on a bit of a tangent before I get to my next one, but like the thing is like, and this is not just the U.S., but for like every country, you know, every government on planet Earth is like things are always changing and evolving. Um, and the things that matter to them are not even close to like what matter to us currently. So it would
Right.
be very jarring for them to see it, but for also us to see their reaction to like how they reacted, you know? Like
Hmm.
I feel like if George Washington, like if something happened and we could bring him to the future and ask for his advice about the current state, you know, I don't think it would matter because it's like his brain
Yeah.
from the 1700s can't comprehend what's happening now.
Yeah. I don't. I agree with you on that. I
It
don't think
would
he'd
be
be able
it
to.
would be interesting to see like his perspective, but it's like we can't take that for advice because the man's never watched SpongeBob, you know? He's
Yeah.
never been on Instagram. He doesn't even know what Rule 34 is. All right. So my last one, I think this is a good one to close on, is none other than Steve Irwin. Um,
Ooh. Wow.
I was obsessed with Steve Irwin as a kid. I loved The Crocodile Hunter. Um, just gone too soon. He was definitely like in
Yes.
his own little crocodile world. Um, I I still admire the passion he had for like teaching about reptiles and things. Um, and it's a shame that we lost him when we did in the way that we did. But I it's nice that people haven't forgot him. I especially people from our generation still talk about Steve Irwin, and it's nice to see. Um, and he just seemed like a good guy. I mean, his family still does stuff with the Australia Zoo, and they all seem like very nice, kind-hearted people. And
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, what can you say about Steve Irwin? Just What an awesome, awesome guy. And there's nobody else that
Definitely.
I would want to end this segment on than Steve Irwin. So R.I.P. to Steve
Wonderful
Irwin.
man.
R.I.P. to Steve Irwin and all the other dead people on our list. Um, yeah, that was fun. I feel like I learned a lot about some of my favorite celebrities and people that um, I didn't know about. Um,
Yeah. Plus the connection for the science, it's like, now hang on. That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. You're telling me the guy who led the country in the Civil War is the same as the guy who wrote American Idiot? What now? um, but yeah, I think it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot. Let us know if you want us to do something like this again. Like I said, this is just a little thing that Matthew and I have always had a little bit of interest in. And it was fun to see each other's list. Maddie, do you have any final thoughts?
Who, anybody on my list that sees this, send me a heart emoji.
Yeah, heart emojis in the comments, please. All right, we will see you guys next time. Hopefully, Tegan will be back. And like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.